Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Next Homie Focus Group. We meet here every other Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm Chuck Vosberg, and my lovely wife, Pat, is also on here on a different little window on her own computer. We're your friends in Florida, and when you refer to us, we personally take care of every step of the transaction. So today we're going to talk about using AI to create an accurate CMA. Now, this is something I've been working on for quite a while, and I don't know, just like type in the chat if you would. How many people in here enjoy doing CMAs? Let's see. I'm gonna just, nope. Yeah, I don't like it either, Renee. Steven doesn't like it. Debbie, I agree with you. Patty likes doing it. Well, that's good. Some people do. Valerie doesn't like it either. Neither does Kim or Susan. Seems like nobody likes doing CMAs, and I don't either. So I've developed this method. Now, over the years, Pat and I have gotten extremely good at doing CMAs. We're very accurate, and I have found this method to be just as accurate. With one little caveat, it doesn't replace RI, real intelligence. It doesn't replace your expertise as a realtor. Now, it's going to give you very accurate results, but you have to read it. You have to look it over. You're the boss. So here's how to think of AI. Think of having a real assistant, a person in your office who hasn't been there very long. If you ask them, hey, make me a CMA, what do you think the results are going to be like? Are they going to be any good? No, of course not. Because you didn't give them enough direction. You didn't teach them how to do a CMA. Likewise, and I'm sure you've all done this, asked Chat GPT to write a description for a listing. And it comes out pretty lame, doesn't it? Well, it's because you didn't give it enough instruction. You didn't give it enough information. Just like with a real assistant, if you just told them to simply write a description of this address, it wouldn't be very good because you didn't give them the information they need to do a really great job. So that's the thing I want you to get into. This is a mindset thing. Treat ChatGPT as if it were an actual person, and then you'll get better results. So I'd like to just jump right into this. I'm going to share my screen right now. All right. Now, let me tell you this. You don't have to take any notes today. I'm recording this. I'll have the recording posted in about a week, and I'm going to email everybody a link to the replay along with all the text that I'm going to use because it's kind of long and I don't want you to have to type this stuff out. You can simply copy and paste just the way I'm going to do. So, like I said before, we have to give ChatGPT some good information to start with. So, here's step number one. I believe we all have access to RPR. Anybody in here love RPR like I do? Some people it's a love-hate thing, but regardless of which application you use to make CMAs, you need to make two reports. So I've chosen a property here that we're going to use as a subject property. This is a property that I know very well, and we're going to see how accurate this comes out. So you need to do two reports. So in RPR, we're going to need a property report, and I've already generated these earlier for you to save time. But you need a property report and you need a market activity report. So that's the first step. Now, the next step is going to vary slightly for all of you because we're not all on the same MLS, but the steps are going to be very similar for everybody. We're going to get the subject property on here, and here, the MLS that we use here in our area, you can actually do a thing called view comparable properties. It's a big time saver. So what you're going to do is get some comparable properties. And the way I like to do it is, we're pretty experienced. We already know pretty much what the price range is going to be for this. So I sort them by price. We need about 30 to 60 days worth of pendings, actives, and solds. That's all we need. And what I do is, okay, so I know this property is not $900,000. So we're going to get rid of that. And as far as the low end, probably 619 is probably the low end. So I'm going to get rid of all these other ones that really don't apply. So that leaves us ones that are in the price range that we think this property is going to be in. And then, however you view a report in yours, you can create a quick CMA, view report. It's going to generate this. I've already done this step earlier for you to save time. So it just kind of compiles all that data. So we save that. So now we have three PDFs. We've got the property report from RPR. We have the market activity report from RPR. And we have a summary of comparable properties that we've created from MLS. Now it's time to go over to Chat GPT. And this is where all the really cool stuff happens. Now, I got to let you know, you are going to max out your free version very quickly doing this kind of work. So I highly recommend upgrading to the paid version. It is not expensive, and it's going to pay for itself the very first time you use it. So over here in the left-hand column, I recommend using projects because it kind of puts things together for you so you can go back later. Because once you make an accurate CMA, you get the listing, then you can use ChatGPT to create social media ads, the description for the property, a, a marketing plan, an identity for the perfect buyer for that property, and many, many other things. A lot more than we have time to go over today, but I'll do one later on that aspect of it. So I'm going to click plus for another project, and I'm going to type in the address and create a project. That gives us a nice clean slate to start with. And the first step is to put that information that we just compiled into ChatGPT. So I'm going to go find those files real quick. All right, so there they are. These are the three things that I made, and we're just going to drag those into ChatGPT. It'll take just a second for them to upload, so talk amongst yourselves. Okay, good, they're done. Now, I have saved these prompts because it's a lot of typing. Again, I'm going to give you every one of these prompts so that you don't have to type any of this stuff in. So, step number one, and I'll let you know what these are too, just so you can understand it. Based on the uploaded PDFs and then you have to type in the neighborhood, Lake Pasadena, Florida. Okay, the top three most comparable homes to, again, the subject property that was 362nd Street North, St. Petersburg, Florida. And then the subject, we've already given the address, so it doesn't need that. But 362nd Street North is a three bedroom, two and a half bath, one car garage, all updated, new roof, 2025, new HVAC, 2024, wood floors, and you can go on and on. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that. So you give it some information. Now it knows something. It can take this data, use this, and make something. So I'm going to click, and you're going to be amazed how quickly it starts generating useful information to us. So subject property overview, it gives us information. It even looked up in that RPR data, the AVM is 636. The top three comparable properties. It's going to tell you about the properties, some notes, adjustment recommendations. It does it the same way an appraiser would do it. And it will also give you, in many cases, reasons why those are good comparable. Now, neighborhood information, all valuable information. Just based on what we've done so far, it's got a pricing strategy. List it between 675 and 695. Now, already I know that this is accurate, but we want to go further with it. So we're back to step number two. So I'm going to copy step number two and paste it in. Now, again, you have to give it some information because without good information, it can't do a good job for you. So, in the neighborhood like Pasadena, in the past, I'll say 3 months and then just click the arrow. So now it's taking what it's already compiled plus all that data that I uploaded and it's figuring out more market data. And then we're going to use this and drill down even deeper. But I think you can probably already ascertain, even though I'm going through this slowly, when you see these series of steps, you'll be able to do this in a matter of mere minutes. I think I think I can probably do one in less than 5 minutes because I've gotten really good at this. So again, now we've got some insights and takeaways. We got stable pricing in this neighborhood. The inventory's a little bit tight. Now here's where you have to use your expertise. Our data has not caught up with reality yet because it's using data from last month. The market's not so good this month. So homes are selling quickly? No, they're not. Solid price growth? Not so much because the data last month doesn't reflect what's going on this month. So I'll show you how to correct that in a minute. Now, back to the prompt. Step number three. All right, using that data, we're going to estimate a price range for this property. And again, 362nd Street North, 3 bed, 2.5 bath, 1 car garage, and take into account factors like recent sales, price per square foot, and any other notable market trends. So you click that. And what we're doing is we're refining the data as we go. So it's taken the information we put in the beginning, plus what it's figured out so far with the previous prompts, and giving us better pricing information. So if we wanted to dump this property right now, we could sell it super fast for 494.8. I guarantee it would sell in less than a week at that because I know this property because we own it. Mid range, if we wanted to sell it pretty quick, 569. High range, 580. So this is a little bit low, but we're getting closer to the information we need. Now, next prompt. Prompt number four. Given the uploaded sales data, should I recommend a competitive strategy, slightly below market, a market value strategy for, and again, tell it what property, and justify the recommendations with data? So this is giving you ammunition when you go on your sales presentation. And here we go. Notice how quickly it's compiling a lot of very useful information. All right, now here, market still favors sellers. We very quickly in the last month inched up into a neutral market. So it gives you some strategies here and some pros and cons, and then final recommendations. Is anybody liking this so far? Does this sound useful? Type it in the chats if you're finding this useful. Good, good. All right. Now we're going to go on to the next prompt. Prompt number five is optional. It makes it a little bit more lengthy. So if you want to have a lot of data, like if you're visiting somebody who you know is analytical, you would use prompt number five to generate even more data. I'm going to skip to prompt number six because we're going and seeing a normal person with this. Please summarize all the findings with charts and graphs and tables, and you can tell it to make a Word document, a PDF, or pretty much anything else that you use. I'll go with a Word document. So we just give it a moment, and it's actually going to make a Microsoft Word document that we can print out and use for our presentation. Now, it's going to take a second for it to do this because it's doing a lot of heavy lifting for us right now. Who has questions so far? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. Stephanie, go
Chuck,
ahead, unmute yourself.
Chuck,
Hey,
this is
Stephanie.
Harmony.
All I
Oh,
just wondered was how are you figuring out the adjustments?
Actually, Chat GPT is figuring out the adjustments on its own. And one step that I neglected to do is make a further adjustment. I mentioned it and then I forgot to say. Okay, so it's using the last 3 months data. I know that we're in a rapidly declining market. Things have changed a lot since the data came out last month. So I can ask it, please consider that the local market is in a quick decline of approximately 12%. And days on market are much longer, and it's quickly becoming, I'm sorry, I typed so slowly, a buyer's market. Okay, so I've given it that additional information. Now it's going to take this into account and redo the information. So we've got the original estimate and we've got adjusted for the decline. And you can do this with anything that is changed because, as we all know, real estate is hyper local. So one side of the street might be better than the other side of the street. So you can tell it that and take that into account. And that's where your expertise comes into play because I know some things that the data doesn't show yet because things changed quickly here in Florida. It's a lot quicker than we're used to. So it doesn't know that yet. But I was able to tell it and fill it in. And again, it's even asking me, you want to regenerate the word report based on these numbers? And it can also include messaging points for buyer psychology and marketing emphasis. You see how as I've used ChatGPT, it started to learn what I need because of what I've asked it in the past. This would be a logical next thing that I would ask it. So it's actually beginning to anticipate my needs. And to me, this is really exciting because the more you use it, and especially if you're on the paid version, it starts to learn your workflow and starts to learn what's next. This will actually continue as we go through this to anticipate what I'm going to need next for my presentation. So I'm going to say, yes, please. And I also recommend talking to it like a regular person. Ask, please make this for me. Use talk to it the way your mama taught you to talk. And it will actually respond to that. I know you're laughing, but it really does. Any other
Chuck,
questions?
I just
Yes.
wanted to interject.
Yes.
I use the paid version and I love it. It has become like my personal assistant and it does anticipate things that I'm going to ask. I'm always using graphs or things like this, but I've tried to use it for a CMA. So seeing the way that you just handled this is really going to make life easier as well. So I highly recommend
Good. Harmony,
people
I'm
love it.
so glad this is helping you because to me, this has opened up a whole new world to me.
For me too.
And we're going to have plenty of time after I go through this demonstration for us to discuss this in detail and also share with each other what we're doing with it because I'm sure you're all doing some really cool stuff that I don't even know about and haven't even thought about. So I'm going to download the new file here and stick it in my thing, and we're going to take a look at it. We'll just take a second to pop up here on my screen. I'm a Macintosh person, so it has to convert it. Whoops. Okay, here we go. So we can just print this thing out. It's got a summary. It's got some charts and graphs because everybody loves looking at those. And then because it's a Word document, you can put your expertise in it. So, yeah, I think it's a little low. I can just change the number. And I'm sure we all do that with RPR all the time, don't we? I see a lot of heads going up and down. Yeah, we always do that. That's where our expertise comes into play. But Can you see where this can save you a tremendous amount of time? I know it does for me. So type in the chat. Is this going to save you any time? Great, great, great. I'm so glad. Yeah, Valerie, Ben, Paris, this is going to save you some time. Time is money. This can actually allow us to do more of what we're good at, which is sitting in front of people and finding out what they need and seeing how we can best serve them.
Chuck,
Yes.
it's Renee. I
Hi,
have a
Renee.
question for you. Hello. I've done it before, not with your prompts, which are awesome, but with other prompts. But instead of using, and I think I'm going to include all three of the reports you stated, I actually do the PDF versions of the listings themselves
Yes.
because what I found was that ChatGPT will read the description to know of certain things about the house that are put in there.
Hmm.
And the rationale or the description of the comps are included in that so
Yes.
that you compare apples to apples. I don't know whether have you ever tried that? Have you noticed any difference doing it that way?
Yes, I have noticed that the PDFs are a little bit more comprehensive. The uh, the Word file is a lot more concise, so it just kind of depends on what you need. I'll tell you what I usually
Oh,
do.
no, sorry, Chuck. I don't mean the last document that spits out. I'm talking about when you're feeding the information to Chat GPT. I
Oh,
include the printouts of the comparables.
oh,
So
I
we
do,
can
I
read the
do that
description.
later in my workflow because right now all I'm doing is looking for a price. So that I'm just strictly focusing on CMA right now. Now, what I'll usually do if I know it's somebody who is analytical, I'll take all this stuff that it made, copy and paste that into a document, edit it so it makes sense to me. And again, you have to read this stuff. Would you actually have an assistant do something like this and you hand it to a client without ever reading it? No, of course you wouldn't. So you shouldn't do it here either. So all this stuff is all good stuff. It makes it look like you spent hours analyzing stuff when instead we just used a very powerful tool. Expand on that, Renee, please.
It's using it for the comps because what ChatGPT is doing is reading those documents or
Hmm.
reading the descriptions
Yeah, the
and it's
first three.
incorporating it into what it spits back out. So it has more information rather than just numbers and stats. It has what has been written in the public comments.
Yes, actually, that little report that I created in the very beginning. And
Right.
one thing you could do also is do a PDF of the listing itself last time it was on the market
Right.
and
That's what I'm talking
and
about.
include that.
Yeah, that's what I do on mine.
Go ahead, Terry. Oh, Jerry, I'm sorry.
Hello, Chuck. Great. This is great. Thank you, first
Oh,
of
I'm
all.
glad you're enjoying it.
Do you use the listings that have a full photography in it, and does it analyze the photos and consider quality? Have you done gotten into a deep dive like that before?
I don't know the answer to that. And that brings up an interesting point because it may do that.
Okay,
I'll
thank
have to
you.
do a little test of that.
And I'm wondering if we have to tell I know it's different across the country, but
Sure.
people who virtually stage and things like that. It'll probably pull that out if it's marked as virtually staged. Anyways, my mind is going forward with the photos.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. As you know, I've just been now that I'm really using it, it's like my mind's exploding on things that it's like, oh, I wonder if it'll do this. Even just simple math. If I have a house that's worth $350,000, what will it be worth in 15 years at a rate of 5% per year? Well,
I like that.
to me, that's hard math. You know, to you guys, it may not be, but to me, it is. I can ask it that question. Boom, here's what it's going to be worth. Can even revise it. Can you tell me what it would be at 4% and 3% and 7%? And it'll actually give you a little table that shows you all the numbers. It's incredible. Go ahead, Dan. Oh, in the chat. Okay. Do you have a Canva template with some Next Home branding in it to present this to your sellers? No, I don't. I use Adobe products because I come from an agency background, so I do not. But this would be very easily to copy and paste into a template that you create. In my case, I use Adobe InDesign for that. Or if it's something I'm doing in a hurry, if you're a Mac person, it's called Pages. That's Apple's competitor to Microsoft Word. I'll create it in that. Yeah, Shelley, did you have a question? And then Angie, I see your question. I'll answer that next. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good? Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, Angie had a good question. Can you ask it to make your charts using our company hex codes? And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, that's the hexadecimal codes, which are the color descriptions that are used on the internet. So, for example, our orange is FF6C2C. And yes, you can. You can ask it to use company colors when it creates that report. Debbie, why don't you unmute yourself and explain that a little bit more?
I
Where
believe
where we live, we don't have like neighborhoods like we have some, but we don't have a lot of like city neighborhoods where you have, 500 homes. They're more rural properties with some acreage or something like that. So
Mhm.
have you tried that with this?
Yes, and matter of fact, there are some areas around where we serve that they're not really neighborhoods per se. You can just give it a zip code, or you could give it a county even. Again, we don't have, at least in the part of Florida that we typically serve, we don't have a lot of rural areas, but I did try it out on some vacant land listings, and it did a remarkably good job. Whereas with RPR, I would have really struggled with it. All right, well, let's take a little sidebar here for a second. I'm going to unshare my screen because I want to see y'all. All right, so I want to know, because you guys are all really smart. In fact, I know almost all of you personally, so I can attest to that. Is anybody using Chat GPT for anything interesting that, or has this sparked any ideas that you might want to try out? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up. We'll do it informal style. Wonder how it would do on commercial properties. I'll bet it would do a really great job. Yeah, listing descriptions. We're going to have enough time to go over that, Lisa, and you are going to love it.
Chuck, I was just in a meeting where a lender talked about the fact that their side of stuff will pull the information from the loan application, search the web for the client's interest, and make recommendations on what the best thing to buy the person for a closing gift is. So I bet we can ask ChatGPT to search for them on social media, with put in their email address, and then have that information pulled up for us.
Oh my God, use it to figure out closing gifts? That is
Yeah,
amazing.
specialty clothing gifts for them. So in the end, it
Oh,
searched the person's stuff and it came up with the best thing. And it wasn't exciting to me, but everybody else thought it was great.
that's
They
exciting to
recommended, because
me.
the people don't like frivolous stuff, they recommended a doormat and a gift card to Home Depot, which is kind of
Mm.
generic because, they're all going to need stuff. So it's logical. And a doormat is good if you can get some branding in there or something funny that makes them think of you every time.
You
But
know,
I thought that was fantastic. Just plug in their Facebook ID or whatever social media about them, let them scrub it for the information and come back.
that's really amazing because even though we spend a lot of time with people, some of them are tough to figure out what they would like. I know I struggle with that frequently. Anybody else have any interesting uses that you've discovered? Because I want to learn
I
from
do.
you too. Let's hear it.
I do. I've used it to research cities and used that to place on our website for Next Home, which I have created, questions that I've asked over and over on each city, like how did it begin, way back when, whatever year it was discovered, and what was the economic conditions at that point, which Indians were on the land to begin with. You will get some great history to where then what year the first home was built and how many homes are in the neighborhoods. It's it's great questions you can ask for reloads who know nothing about the area and they are trying to compare where they'd like to live.
I am so glad you brought that up because I've got a great example that I can share with y'all. We have a listing coming up. It was built in 1923, which is right about the time building really got going in earnest here in St. Petersburg, where we live. And it's a very historic, it's a giant mansion on the most expensive street in the anywhere around here. So it's a problem because the people who are selling it don't really know anything about its history. They moved down here from New York. They loved the place. It's an incredible mansion. It's like like nothing you've ever seen. So that presented a real problem for us. So let me share my screen again and I'll show you what it did for that. We're not the first realtors who've had this. There were previous realtors who they became unhappy with. So here's a thing where you have to teach Chat GPT, and I'll share all these prompts with you on the email that I send y'all. So you're an expert marketing content writer. Using warm and inviting tone with some excitement, use the information in the following four descriptions and rewrite the following listing description for MLS. Use good SEO techniques. Create a call to action to setting a showing for the home soon. Limit the description to 1,000 characters. Write at an eighth grade reading level and make sure the content is in compliance with federal fair housing regulations. And then from there, I gave it a list of what the features were. So I uploaded some previous descriptions of when it had sold before. They were all pretty lame. So it gave me a few different options. So it gives some options, and then finally I asked it to take those, kind of combine them, make something that's brief and to the point. So it did that. And then I said, please rewrite it emphasizing the historic nature of the house. Built in 1923, it has a lot of the original one-of-a-kind features. It needs some updating. Sellers moved from the Waldorf Astoria in New York City, where they lived 25 years, to this house. The seller is a famous fashion designer. Now we're really drilling down and getting into something that's unique. It wrote this most amazing description and I literally only had to change one word in it. The chef's kitchen. It's not a chef's kitchen because when it was built, the owners didn't cook. They had people for that. It's a professional kitchen. It's not one that's designed for people just going in there and being their own amateur chefs. It's a commercial kitchen. So it wrote a it even addressed the issue that it needs to be updated. Though lovingly maintained, this one-of-a-kind home is ready for your personal touches and updates. And then blah, blah, blah. It, I couldn't have come up with that. So then I asked it, okay, I'm going to need a longer version for the brochure. It talks about being a true piece of St. Petersburg history on the brick streets of Jungle Prada. It goes into the history of Jungle Prada, how Panfilo de Narvaez landed right across the street from this mansion, and the parks, the craftsmanship, all the bespoke things that are in that house. It found stuff that I didn't know about St. Petersburg, and I've lived here my whole life, and I've never lived anywhere else. A flyer style Instagram and Facebook posts. It even gives you these little emojis. So if you copy and paste this and put it into your social media, all the emojis are already there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter and X post. It goes on and on. LinkedIn. It gives different styles for the different kinds of social media. So it's incredibly powerful. I mean, I hate to sound like a salesman for Chat GPT, but I am just so on fire for this thing, and I've only begun with it. So, and I hope you feel that way too. Would you like to do more Q&A, or would you like me to show you how I have it write the description of the property? Yeah, number one is Q&A. Number two is show you the description. Description, Valerie prefers that. Okay, looks like most people would rather see the the demonstration of that. So I'll do that right now for you.
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to share that I've been using it for my descriptions and my listings that I also have, but you actually just showed me. I mean, my descriptions have been coming out really, really good because I've been putting in the right prompts, but you just showed me a few more prompts that I didn't even think about.
Yes.
So definitely, I want to see more in the description.
Yeah, it's so powerful. You just have to learn how to give it information. It's just like an assistant. Earlier in my career, I sucked as a boss. I got bad results from everybody because I wasn't a good manager. I didn't know how to ask the right questions and give the right information to be able to get the good results back from the people. And the same thing is true here. It really is. So I'm just going to go back to our 362nd Street example. I've got a whole set of prompts here. Let me move some stuff out of my way. Making a listing description. And again, I will give you all this stuff in the email so you don't have to write anything down or worry about anything. And I'll do this kind of briefly just in the interest of time so it's not boring, but the more descriptive you are, the better results you're going to get. So again, you're an expert marketing content writer using warm and inviting tones, blah blah blah. Eighth grade reading level, the whole thing. Now, it already knows that we're talking about 362nd Street North, but I'm going to type that in just in case. Did that a little too quick. Sorry about that. So it's going to write a really lame one right now. It's probably going to say it's boasting this and that, because that seems to be a word that's frequent. All right. Let me start over here. Okay. Real wood floors. Oh, did I accidentally press enter again?
Yes.
Oh, I am
Mhm.
sorry, you guys. You know, I'm so excited. I don't know what to do. Okay. Real wood floors. Renovated. 10-foot ceilings. Pat, thank you for helping me out. Ceilings. Don't worry, it's not a spelling class either. Brick Street, historic area, large corner lot. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that because I think you get the point. Now I'm going to press enter, and it's going to create something that's better because I gave it good information. All right. It did a reasonably good job. Now, let's refine it. Next prompt, make two more versions of the description. And we'll let it decide in this case because, again, it's been learning all the while what I like because I'm telling it. Okay, now this is very important, y'all. Pay attention to this. Number three is perfect. Thank you. It needs to know this information. It needs input from you so it can learn what you like. All right. Now it knows what I want to do next, but I'm going to refer back to my prompts just so it'll follow exactly what I'm going to send you. Now, we want to create 3 social media posts and we want to encourage people to schedule a showing. Chat GPT already knows that it needs to follow fair housing laws for me because again, it's learned, but you may need to type that in at first. So it's going to create 3 different social media ads right now. And I'm not going to bother reading it. Even gives you the hashtags for it. The photo one, highlighting the lifestyle, and then another one that's real heavy on call to action. And again, it's anticipating my needs. Do we want to know about Facebook event pages and stuff? It actually is thinking for me now. It's amazing. All right, so let's take it a step further. Let's create a 2-month marketing campaign. Now, this is something you can share with your client because clients want somebody with a plan. Isn't that right, Lisa? I know you're someone that likes to have a plan of action. A launch week, local and online awareness, first open house push, review and re-engage. It goes on and on. It even gives some suggestions for which social media platforms might be appropriate for this. All right, next prompt. Create a client persona for the ideal buyer, but don't violate any fair housing regulations. This is one thing that's very interesting. And, all the marketing experts say you got to know who your buyer is. It even gives it a name, Jordan Taylor. And it even gave it a gender neutral name. It could be anybody. Person that buys this house probably going to be in this age range because this is probably a good house for a family, even though we're not allowed to say that. All right, so it gives us a description of what that person is probably like. And you're reading this over, it looks pretty accurate to me and what I would guess. Um, and the best ways to reach them. This particular person would be on Instagram and Facebook because of their age range and interests. And they might be subscribing to neighborhood newsletters and things in advance. They like emotionally driven stories. So again, it's asking me, you want me to write something that would resonate with this person? So now it's rewriting those social media posts to address that persona that we just created of the person that might be our potential buyer. But let's go back to our prompts. All right, here's where we show our client how hard we're working. Write an email to the sellers outlining all the marketing efforts we're doing to promote the listing. Now, for you guys, I don't know about y'all, but our listings are sitting right now. It's gotten hard out there. So sellers are getting nervous. They're getting antsy. They're thinking, I hired you to do something and you're not doing it. That's all they know.
Mhm.
So this writes a whole letter of what we're doing to market that property. And this is something valuable because these people need to know that we're working very hard for them. And it's how many of us struggle? I mean, type it in the chat. Do you guys struggle with proving to your clients that you're working hard for them, even though they can't see 99% of the things that you do? I know that that's been a struggle for me. And, just doing more open houses isn't enough to keep people from firing you just because they think it's all your fault. Has anybody had that problem? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Tell me the story. Yeah, Susan, you're right. It's hard to verbalize the specifics because we do so much, we don't even think about it. And it would be so hard to make a list because we just, we know how to do this. We've got a system. We do it every time, and it just isn't easy to put into words that make sense to everybody. But it just did it for us. Thousands of things every day, Pat says. And yeah, that's true. Pat works very hard, and we work super hard for our clients, and sometimes they don't know it. I mean, they feel it emotionally. All right,
Hey,
Renee,
Chuck.
Renee, go ahead. Oh, is that Lisa?
Yes, if
All right,
it's okay.
whoever you are, go ahead. Hi, Lisa.
Yeah. Hi, how you doing? I have a great one. A brand new build. Um, have done this a few times in my career, so I kind of have an idea how to do a listing. And I kept getting resistance on the price.
Mhm.
We're still in a really good market here in Maine, but it's still got resistance. And I gave the correct CMA, let it sit, and he came back. And I finally just fired back, you know what? I don't think I'm your agent. I just don't think that we're going to be able to work well as a team. He said, because you are hiring me for my expertise. And since that's not really fitting into what you're looking for, I really pride myself on really being able to help my clients get through the process as stress-free as possible. I am happy to give you some recommendations of people right here at my next home office, and just let me know. But thank you so much for reaching out. And I clicked send, and my husband said, did you just, I was talking into my phone, did you just say that to a customer? I said, absolutely. He said, I am so proud of you. He said, because that's exactly right. That's what will happen throughout the whole process. But within 3 days, I get a call. I am so sorry. I definitely want you to list this. And then, but can you list it at this price? And I said, absolutely not. So sometimes you just have to say no, guys. Then, and that will open up your world for the other people that you're losing time with them because you're wasting time on somebody else. And seriously, somebody else would be more hungry than I am, will do it. And it will sit on the market.
Oh, Lisa, I'm so glad you brought that up because I know y'all are thinking, y'all probably know Lisa. Lisa's a real high producer.